What's going on, guys? It's Greg here today, and I'm bringing you a Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 gameplay commentary. And what you guys will be watching background here is just a little bit of Shipment, but that's not really what we're going to be doing. We're not really be having too much gameplay today. We are actually going to be diving into trusty old Photoshop, so I can explain to you guys why the spawns on Shipment are absolutely busted. Now, I just want to say I'm not going to be showing you guys every single spawn point, because whenever I was making this, obviously there's a lot of spawns that I am trying to cover, and at the same time I'm not really too focused on showing the exact spawn points, but rather explaining to you guys why these spawns are so broken and how you guys can use them to your advantage and whatnot. So hopefully it makes sense. I mostly just cover about the broken spawns on Hardpoint, which I just want to say real quick, the spawns that I go over for Hardpoint, it pretty much applies to every single point, but I explained it most with P2, which is Hardpoint number 2. And then for domination, there still is some spawn logic, because it seems that flags do have a little bit of input on whether people or not are going to spawn on a certain area of the map, but it's still not as much as it should be compared to older Call of Duty games. So hopefully this video will help you guys out in understanding the spawn logic on Shipment, so that way you guys can have a better time predicting your enemies without local, I almost said local informants like it's Vanguard, so you guys can predict your enemies without advanced UAVs or having UAVs up in the air. And yeah, so without further ado, let's go ahead, get right into it, and we'll be back at the end to wrap things up. Alright guys, here we are. We have Shipment up, and as you guys can see, this is the map layout. It's a very, very simple map, and I want to go over basically why Shipment is very random and there's not much strategy to it. So number one, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 uses a squad spawn system, and what this basically means is safety in numbers. It's going to spawn you around your teammates at pretty much all times. Now, objectives still do have some sort of influence over the map, but not that much. So let's say we have, now I might put these in the wrong location because I think it's C, A. Okay, you know what? My brush is very bad here. Let's do this. A, B, C. All right, so let's say we're playing domination. Now, in a traditional Call of Duty game, right, the spawns would look something like this, right? It would be like a side versus side. You would have the C spawn would be on this side, and the A spawn would be on this side, and then basically it's going to be, you know, the A side has to come down here, and they have 3 lanes to attack the enemy team that would be on the C side, and then for the C side, it would be the same thing, and I think you guys get the point, right? And the spawns on traditional Shipment back in the day, and this is why traditional Shipment didn't feel so chaotic, is because it might spawn people over in this corner, it might spawn people in this safety area behind these crates to give them some time to react. You know, they can pre-aim anybody that's trying to spawn trap them, rather than just dying if they were to spawn here in this little upper hand corner. You know, maybe they'll spawn in these little crates over here or over here behind the Jeeps. The game would try to safely spawn you in. But Shipment in Modern Warfare 2 does not work like this. Shipment basically is going to spawn you based off of where your teams are. So if you own, let's say the flag we own is going to be C. So C is, actually, you know what, we'll do red for enemy. So let's say we have, I'm going to go ahead and put these on. So ours is going to be the A flag, okay? We own the A flag here in domination. B is neutral, and the enemies own C. So basically, the game will try to spawn in domination, still kind of around the flags, and at the same time, they're still going to have the squad spawn system. So if enemies are starting to push out, oops, let's switch to red. Let's say the enemies are starting to push out, they grab B, you know, they come up here. You might start seeing some weird spawns where enemies might start spawning in the middle of the crates. They might spawn further out here, but one of the things that Modern Warfare 2 doesn't do, and this is one of the things that makes this map so random and spawn trappy, is that the game is using the same spawns that Modern Warfare 2019 had. And if you guys remember Modern Warfare 2019, the crates were actually not angled. They were straight, which removed the safety spawns. And for whatever reason, Infinity Ward decided that they were not going to fix the spawn system for Modern Warfare 2 in order to utilize these safety areas, right? So we would ideally have enemies spawn between these crates. You know, maybe they'll spawn in these shipping containers because this one's more of an A spawn, right? This one's maybe the C spawn. They could spawn this little corner, spawn in between this safety crate, spawn in this little corner, you know, maybe spawn behind these dumpsters over here at the flag. And then, like I said, for these guys over here, you know, they'll spawn behind these crates for cover. Maybe they'll spawn behind this, you know, and that's how shipment should work, right? Because there's a lot of safety spawns to where you can spawn in around your home flag, you can spawn in, you'll be able to safely spawn in, and you'll be able to take on your enemies without having to worry about being spawn trapped and not being able to shoot your gun back at your enemies. However, in Modern Warfare 2, like I said, it's not utilizing that spawn system, and instead what we're just seeing is on the A flag, for example, we'll just see people spawning here, 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 in the crate, and right there. So, oh, and here sometimes, occasionally. So what we're seeing is basically if the enemy team pushes up, and let's say they have an advanced UAV up, for example, or just a UAV in general, pretty much all the enemies are going to know where you're at, and they can position themselves knowing that you're going to keep spawning in these areas because of the squad spawn system, right? These enemies are just going to go ahead and basically have you spawn trapped here all game, and you're not going to spawn in these little safety nets that we talked about, and you're not going to be able to get angles on the enemies from a safe place and be able to take them on and stand a chance. And shipment in the higher MMR brackets just becomes a spawn trap fest. There's not really much you could do. If you're in the lower MMR brackets, of course, it's going to play a little bit slower because, well, people don't really know about this, right? But pretty much everybody in the higher MMR bracket knows, and they're going to try to spawn trap you. And shipment in this game is basically just pure spawn traps, and the easiest mode to get spawn trapped in is definitely domination because, like I said, the flags are still somewhat playing a role, but at the same time, you know, if we start filling in the seaside spawns, it's pretty much just going to be these little, you know, corners of the map, and it's not going to spawn you in the safety nets. So it's going to spawn you pretty much exactly in the open, so all the enemies can see where you're at, you know. In our little safety nets here, I'll use the opposite colors. It's not going to really utilize that, all right? The only safe spawn you really have is when you spawn in the crate on either side, but even then, I mean, you're not really that safe, right? The game should be trying to utilize these safety nets, but it's not. And I think Infinity Ward needs to change that, but they're not going to change that. So shipment, there's not a lot of control due to spawns. It's basically just, like I said, it's spawn traps. And what makes this even worse, guys, is in Hardpoint. So let's say we're playing Hardpoint, and pretty much, if you guys don't know, all of the hills, so I'm going to go ahead and change back to white here, all right? And this is P1, P2, P3, and then I want to say this one is P4 and this one is P5. I might be wrong on P4 and P5 on which one is which, but you guys get what I'm trying to say here, all right? All the corners of the map and the middle is basically the spawns. Now, Hardpoint in this game is even worse. So the reason I say this is because whenever you are playing a Hardpoint match, the spawns are basically a free-for-all, especially around P1. So we have P1 here, right? And let's say you are an objective player, and you want to play P1, and you want to hold down P1 for your team. All of a sudden, for whatever reason, the enemies are going to spawn on top of P1 and just pretty much kill you. And if you are by yourself on P1, you can't watch all 4 of these spawn points that are on top of the hill. And you know what gets even worse, guys? Is that whenever we go to P2, okay, so let's go ahead and talk about P2 now, right? We have P2 up here. What's even worse about P2 is that if you own P2, because like we said, right, it's going to try to spawn the enemies on top of your hardpoint that you occupy, as if the spawns are pretty much already randomized in hardpoint as is. But if you touch the hardpoint, all of the enemies begin spawning in the corners behind the hardpoint. And you know what's really bad about that is you can have a teammate sit in this corner, you can have a teammate sit in this corner, and you can have a teammate sit right here, and as long as if one teammate is sitting on P2, you can spawn trap the entire enemy team, basically, that is spawning in on P2. Now, there might be the oddball that spawns in out over here or here or here every once in a while, but if you have somebody watching the flip side, all of a sudden it becomes a huge spawn trap. And one of the things that is very important to know about Shipment is there's not a lot of solo players running into Shipment. I mean, there might be, but majority of people are coming in here with the mentality to spawn trap the enemy, okay? That is just how Shipment plays. Pretty much everybody is playing in a big stack that is in the higher skill level MMR bracket. So if you are somebody who does above average at Call of Duty and you're playing Shipment by yourself, you're going to run into a lot of parties and you are going to get spawn trapped a lot in the skill-based matchmaking algorithm. So as a solo player, I would never touch Shipment. Okay, I'm sorry, it's just the truth for me, unless you really just want to get spawn trapped and, you know, that's the experience you want. If you are somebody who does really well on this game and you are somebody who is playing Shipment, you will get spawn trapped a lot. And if you start having some good games, you know, skill-based matchmaking kicks up, the next couple games you have, you're going to get spawn trapped. And the only fun that can really be had on Shipment is in the lower MMR brackets because people are playing a little bit more cautious. They're playing overly tactical. You know, maybe they're trying to treat it as if it's a real war or something. I don't really know, right? Not everyone's just running around with mini backs, sweating their balls off, trying to kill you. It's not going to be as spawn trappy because people are playing it slower. The squad spawn system is going to be a little bit more... it's going to be spawning everyone together, but since people are kind of playing that whole like side versus side tug of war, and it's something that I've just spectated from a lot of gameplays and watching, you know, people of all different calibers play this game, is you'll see, like, for example, if we have A and we have C here, and then we have B in the middle here and it's unoccupied, and even if it is occupied, it doesn't really change the spawns too much. I mean, sure, you might get some spawns, you know, like closer up or something. I don't really know the exact points, but you guys get what I'm saying, is you might spawn a little bit closer to B. But what I see is whenever I watch people who, you know, aren't in the highest matchmaking bracket, is I notice they're able to just kind of play this area of the map any way they want. And, you know, they're not being spawn trapped because this team is also just kind of over here defending, and then they're just kind of fighting over the middle like a normal match. It feels like a normal match. But as soon as skill-based matchmaking kicks up, it's a free-for-all and it's a shit show, and basically Shipment is very hard to control. So, I hope this video helped you guys understand how Shipment works and why the spawns are so messed up. Basically, the spawn system that was originally intended to be on this game, or on this map, way back in the day when it first came out with Call of Duty 4, is no longer being utilized, and that is why that if you played Shipment back in Call of Duty 4, you remember this map still being super fast-paced and pretty much just, you know, the fastest map you've ever played in the history of COD, but at the same time, the spawns didn't really feel like you were having horrible spawns and you were getting spawn killed every single time you instantly spawned in. And it maybe also did help, you know, that the skill-based matchmaking algorithm wasn't so strong back in the day, or, you know, quote-unquote skill-based matchmaking as we talked about the other day. But at the same time, the spawns definitely were not just spawning you in an open line of sight, they were trying to cut off lines of sight. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comment section below, do you guys think they will fix the Shipment spawns? Because me, personally, I don't think they will, considering that they didn't with Vanguard, and they even took away the safe spawns on Modern Warfare 2019, which I really just don't know what they were doing back then. So, let me know in the comment section below. Hopefully this helped you guys out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, drop a rating, and I will see you all in the next video. Have a great day, and peace out.